Hello girls, gays, and non-binary babes. Welcome back to my channel. Quick little update for you. If you saw my post a few months ago about how I was taking a little break because my fiance and I are in the process of closing on a house, and I was gonna wait until we moved in to start making videos again because it was just a lot at the time, but it keeps getting pushed, our closing date, so I'm just gonna start filming again because I miss you guys and I really want to. So here I am. I'm excited to be back. I really am. This feels really weird, but yes, hello. If you didn't notice I was gone, hi. I'm back. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about some of the books that I've been reading lately, mostly the good and the bad. I've made a list of the really good I've read and the 3 bad ones that I didn't really like that much. We'll explain when we get there. Some worse than others for different reasons, but yeah. Without any further ado, let's get into it. We're gonna start with the really good that I've read recently. The first one being Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. Most of these books I don't actually have at the moment, so I'm just gonna throw up some pictures. But yeah, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. I read this one a few months ago, kind of right when I took my little break, or when I first started it. I read an arc of it and it was phenomenal. I love Sarah Gailey's work. Their books always just speak to me in some sort of way, and this one was no different. It's about a girl whose dad was a serial killer, and she is returning to the house that he killed all of his victims in to take care of her dying mother. And her mother, and her don't get along. She's just coming to, take care of things and be there when her mom dies and eventually figure out what to do with the house. It's very psychological. It does follow 2 timelines: her as a child, before discovering that her dad was a serial killer, and then also her present timeline taking care of her dying mother and kind of reflecting and reliving all of this. It was just so good. I'm really surprised we haven't gotten more books about serial killer families. It's really interesting to me, and even though this one's fictional, it's just so interesting to see the psychology that's behind all of it. And like I said, this is fictional, so who knows, but this one was just really fascinating to read, and I don't know, it just really gripped me and I just absolutely loved it. The next book I do have, so I will hold it up, but that is Goddess of Filth by V. Castro. I actually read Queen of the Cicadas, I believe the title was, by the same author. Wasn't the biggest fan, I liked it, but just really didn't do a whole lot for me, so yeah. But this one, oh my god, this is I've never seen The Craft, but it's pitched as The Craft. I think it may be just The Craft. But basically there's these teenage girls that they're all this group of friends, and one night they're doing a seance kind of thing, and they summon a goddess, an old goddess, and it's kind of it's like The Exorcist in a way, The Exorcist in The Craft, but it's just so weird, and I just really loved it. It was really, like I said, dark, but also kind of feminist, supporting women's wrongs kind of thing, which I love. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Also, this is a side note, but the spine of this book is a spine, and I love that. So yeah. Next we have another good for her type of book, and that is A Certain Hunger. I can't remember who wrote this, but I will be throwing up a picture. This book was incredible. It has to do with cannibalism and the psychology of that, and oh, it was just so good. This is about a woman who attracts men and then kills them and eats like a body part because she is a food critic, and she's just really interested in very out there foods, and so she dabbles in cannibalism. And this was just wonderful. I would love to see a movie of this. Just incredible. And the cover, I mean, anything with like an artistic, like Renaissance style cover, beautiful. Beautiful, love it. Next, I want to talk about Comfort Me with Apples. Again, I cannot remember who this is by, but my apologies. I did not know what this was about going into it. I was actually offered an arc of it a while back, obviously before it came out, and I think I definitely saved the email, but I just wasn't really interested, and never really got around to reading it. But then I saw a bunch of reviews talking about how incredible it was, and I still, knowing nothing about it, accepted the arc, and I think I picked up the physical book from my library so that I didn't have to read it on my Kindle, and oh my god, this is insane. This is like an Adam and Eve story, but dark and twisted, and that is all I'm going to tell you. It's just so incredible, but go into it knowing like nothing except Adam and Eve. That's it. It's a thriller. It's kind of like, I don't want to say like Gone Girl, but it's like a domestic thriller, and it was so good, and it's super short too, so that's cool. But yeah, what a wild ride is all I can say. And finally, for the good, we have a bit of an oddball as compared to everything I just talked about. But I read the Kaiju Preservation Society this one is by John Scalzi. So I don't know what made me pick this up. I just kind of saw it on my library's shelf, and it's like, what was this about again? Because I remember seeing it on NetGalley, didn't request it or anything, but I was like, what was this about again? And I read the flap, and it says something about like giant pandas on a different world, and I'm like, okay, sign me up. Not giant pandas on another world, kind of, not really. Basically, if you don't know what a kaiju is, it's basically Godzilla, and that is like a cryptid sort of mythology type thing, and I didn't know that was an actual like thing. So think Godzilla, big, huge dinosaur kind of lizard thingy. That is a kaiju. And in this book, our main character, in the very beginning, the pandemic happens, and he loses his job and works for like a delivery, like a food delivery app. And while working this job, he meets somebody who offers him a job at the Kaiju Preservation Society, but it's all like hush hush at first. Basically what this is they go to, I believe it's in Greenland or Iceland, where they go, and they go into this building and they come out in a different universe, basically. Kind of like a parallel universe, and there are kaijus there. And it's like this big huge jungle, and the kaijus are basically giant nuclear reactors, and so they're being preserved, obviously for safety reasons, but also because of, you know, how interesting it is. And there's this whole thing of when a kaiju, like there's like a meltdown, basically, it creates a really thin barrier between the worlds, so sometimes they can cross over. There's a whole issue with that. This is a very short book, but oh my gosh, was it just fun. It was just so fun and light and just what I needed. And it gets into like the sciencey part of it a little bit, but not too much where you feel overwhelmed. It's genuinely like the perfect fun sci-fi read, and I loved it. And I love cryptids, which you guys may know. So yeah, absolutely love this book. Just incredible. But I will stop talking about that now because I have rambled for so long about that book. Now we're gonna get into the bad and the ugly. So the first book I'm gonna talk about is not necessarily bad, just not what I was expecting didn't live up to expectations. And it's gonna be controversial. Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee, I believe. I was so disappointed by this. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars. So I didn't hate it. I enjoyed reading it. But I did have a few issues. One is a personal issue. It just read like YA to me, and I don't like that. That's not really my thing anymore. So yeah, if you like YA, then go for it. But I think it's just marketed as adult when it definitely reads more YA. Which, take that as you will. That can be a good or bad thing for you, but bad thing for me. My other big problem was that it was so much in one book. It's about 400 pages, and it could have been a trilogy. Like, it could have been a trilogy. Yeah, I wish it would have been like a series of books, because it would have been so much better and in depth, and we could have gotten to know the characters a bit more. But basically, if you don't know what Portrait of a Thief is, it is a group of Asian American students, like college students. They get together and perform heists and take back pieces of art that were stolen from their country. So really good premise, really good premise. Loved that whole thing. Loved that part. No complaints. Like, genuinely absolutely loved it. There are, I can't remember how many heists there are in this book, but there at least like around five, give or take. And that seems like a lot to put into one book. I wish we could have gotten like 1 or 2 heists per book, and, you know, had it been a series and we could have like gotten like nitty gritty. I love the details of a heist. I love when an author really like puts their mind to it and tries to figure out themselves like how to do a heist. I love that. It gave a little bit of info on them, but just not as much as I would have liked personally, so that was my issue with it. So unfortunately did not love this book and was really disappointed. Next we have a book I was very, very highly anticipating. That is the Cipher by, I cannot remember, but I've heard good things about this book. I cannot remember if somebody recommended it to me or if I saw it recommended like on like Book Talk or something, but it was recommended under like disturbing kind of mess with your head books, books that people like were impacted by. And I didn't know anything going into it, but I was just super disappointed. It really felt like not a whole lot happened, but the premise was really cool. I didn't hate it. I think I gave it 3 stars. Basically it's about this kid and his girlfriend. More on that later. There's a closet that they have at the apartment they're renting. Is it an apartment? I can't remember. At the place they're staying in, and there's just a giant hole, and weird things are happening around this hole, in this hole. They're experimenting with it, and just strange things are happening. And that kind of, you know, progresses as the book does. My biggest issue with this was I couldn't tell if, okay, my brain works weird, okay guys? I could not tell if the main character's girlfriend was supposed to be human or like some sort of human-esque creature. I really genuinely don't know. I think she was supposed to be human, but the way she was described really didn't seem to, if she is human, what purpose was it serving? She was described as like very thin and like tall, thin, long extremities, odd features, and it's like if she was supposed to be human, like why explain all that, you know? So is she not human? Is she human? I still don't know. Could not tell you. But also as the book progressed, I think it was just too intense of sci-fi for me. I don't know. It didn't quite get me the way I wanted it to, and it was creepy, but it was hard to focus when I was trying to picture this guy's girlfriend in my mind. You know, it's hard to focus when you don't know what a character looks like, at least for me. So yeah, that was my issue with the cipher. Finally, I want to talk about a book I read very recently, The Descent by, Lord, I do not remember his name. Jeff something, I think. I don't know. Jeff Long, I think. Good Lord. So, the movie. We'll start with that. I loved the movie, The Descent. Incredible. Beautiful. Lovely. The book, I should have listened. It's nothing like the book. Basically, the movie you could argue that it was like partially inspired by, like very vaguely inspired by the book. Like the first few chapters, they took it, made a group of female characters, and were like, let's go with it. The rest of the book, this was a long book. I think it was like 500 and some pages. It was interesting. It was really religious, which I should have seen coming, because it's about these creatures being discovered under the earth. So basically, like, people think it's hell, and these are demons. I should have expected, like, religious aspects, but I don't know. I just didn't like the way this was done. It was just kind of boring. And how do you make a book about humans discovering hell boring? I don't know, but he managed it. First few chapters, though, wonderful. Loved them. Could not put the book down, and I was reading and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good. I am so excited. And then, yeah, it just dragged, and I don't know. I didn't like it. I think I gave it 2 stars. Yeah, I was not a fan. So if you liked the movie and are like, hey, let me check out the book, I don't recommend it. So that is what I've been reading lately. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So glad to be back again. Oh my goodness. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you read any of the same books, let me know, or let me know your thoughts on them. And let me know what you've been reading lately, because I am very curious, as always. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.